Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Anjal Maghija and welcome to my podcast. So Nichiren Buddhism says that even the jewels and treasures, cannot give the happiness in the entire major world system, but only the life. So in today's podcast, Zain Abbas from UK had got this second life, which is like he got a rebirth by having a kidney transplant in the Asia's largest kidney hospital. So, welcome Zain Abbas on this podcast with us. How are you? And please share a little about you.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Anshul, for having me here. Happy to be here and share my thoughts. So I'm currently living in the UK. I'm from Pakistan. I had my transplant about uh, 7 to 8 months ago in February this year. Uh, Prior to that, I was on dialysis for I think about 3 months. Um, I'm in the UK working as a consultant for the government at a big four company. Uh, and yeah, it's been going well. It's been strong compared to how I was last year and the state of my mind and my body at that time. It's going really well. Yeah.
Zan, can you take us back to the moment when you were diagnosed with kidney failure in November 2022? And what were your initial emotions and feelings and thoughts? And how did you cope up with that? How did you manage and how did you take that news?
Uh, well, yeah, I'll have to go back in time a bit. But exactly around this time, back in November 2022. So I think it was the 11th of November. It was a Friday. I was celebrating with my family because that day I had received a job offer from the UK. Something that I had been waiting for a long time. I've given a lot of interviews. Something that I was striving for the past 5 years is everything like. So we were out celebrating. We came back home. The next day, I got my test results. So I was giving a number of tests. The doctors thought I had some hidden deficiencies or something.
Okay.
But I was giving some tests for that. In those tests, my creatinine was really high. So normal person's creatinine would be 1 0 to 1. My creatinine was 18, which was extremely toxic.
Oh,
Yeah, the lab technician called us. And he told us to go to hospital ASAP because he wasn't sure what was happening, but we went to the closest hospital. The best one that we knew was SIUT. My history with SIUT wasn't that long, not far off. I knew it was a big hospital in the city, but I never knew that I'd myself maybe end up there one day. So we rushed there in the emergency department. They tested us. At that moment, there were a number of tests. They did a number of ultrasounds, they took my blood samples. The nurse came and she told my mom the news. Uh, my mom was in a state of shock. She didn't exactly tell me what was happening because I was still, I was still dressed up, sitting in the chair, wondering what was happening. And then she went out. She spoke to my dad, and he consoled us, but I still didn't know what was happening.
okay.
We came, we went home. We came back a couple of hours later, and they asked me to clean, and they inserted a temporary, what do you call it? A temporary tube on the side of my thighs for dialysis. At this point, I still didn't know what was happening,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
when the doctors told me, you had kidney failure, and we're going to set you up for dialysis. So at that exact point was where I felt a death sentence had been signed. This is where the clock stopped for me, and this is where life takes a break. And th- that was a shocker, not only for me, but for my family. I mean, you can imagine, I mean, this was a 27-year-old guy at the peak of his life, you know, career to look forward to, flying out to the UK in a couple of months, uh, about to be married in a couple of months. I had a lot going on at that point in time, and it just felt like a death sentence. That is, that's what it was. And mind you, I was in a government hospital at that time. Now, I'm from a middle class family, so
Hmm.
we're able to afford private treatments as well in Pakistan because it's a state of government hospital. Uh, it's not exactly ideal. There's a lot going on. There's no room for patients, and there's a lot of stress on the system. So here I was in one, not exactly in the ward. I was in in the corridor because the walls were cold. So I was lying in a suit in the corridor. My family was coming in and out, and everyone was weeping at that point of time. So I was there for 2 days in the ward. I had a couple of dialysis sessions until they were able to figure out what to do. Yeah, it was a bit of shocker. Yeah,
It's tough, exactly 1 year back, and today you are healthy and, doing good in your life. So, yeah, nostalgic, but
it
at
is.
that moment, yes. So, tough phase when we get to know about our dialysis and about our health condition, that what exactly is going to happen. We are clueless, right? So, you're doing good for that matter. So, yes, moving further.
Yeah,
Yes. So you were on dialysis for 3 months. So what were the challenges you faced during those uh, challenging dialysis period? And as you shared that it is a dilemma during the dialysis, that in the morning you used to go for tests and the night you used to go for dialysis, must be tiring for you. So please share a little about that.
uh, dialysis was a tough phase. It's that thing where it's that kind of thing that you want to forget. You know, get your mind off all the time. Uh, because see, this is what happens during dialysis. You go there 2 times a week, 4 hours a day. You have these giant needles stuck up your arms for 4 hours in a section. So during dialysis, you're you might be uh, after dialysis. Sorry, that's what I need to say. So after dialysis, you're mentally still stuck inside that world because you spent so much time in that environment, that system. And physically, you might be in your office or at work or with friends, but mentally, you're still always stuck there. So that's how the 3 months flew by because I was mentally always trapped inside that world with patients. I made more friends in that world than I did in real life in those 3 months because I was spending most of my time. It was quite depressing as well because there were patients who were hopeful about their lives uh, because they were in the same phase as me. They were having tests for transplant, and there were other patients who had given up on life because
Yes.
they had immune conditions. They couldn't go for a transplant. There were other patients with diabetes who couldn't have a transplant either. Uh, but then there was a set of patients that couldn't have a transplant, but they were very, very hopeful. They were very, very positive, and that's what actually kept me going forward. So I met a few people with amputated limbs. They didn't have hands, they didn't have arms. They lost that because of diabetes. They were still smiling. They were still going about their day. It was part of
Wow.
their lives. So all of those things really helped me, move forward to doing dialysis procedures. Mind you, I was having my test done for a transplant at the same time. Um, during those tests, now I had this mindset of that, okay, if SIUT is maybe a charitable hospital, or if it's a government run entity, they might not do things as properly because that's the kind of thing you might expect from a government hospital in India or Pakistan, right? That wasn't the case. I had a list of tests that needed to be done. There were a lot of tests from glucose levels and ECG and uh, another one that I'm forgetting. So there were
Psychiatric
a lot of tests that had to
evaluation.
be done. So yeah, yeah, a lot that uh, a lot of that as well. It was painful. It took a while, but yeah. So in my mind, I was either doing tests or I was in dialysis. I used to go to work as well during that time, during my dialysis. So I wasn't mentally there. I was just going to the office because everybody knew my situation. I had told my bosses about it as well. So I would just go there, open my laptop, stare at the screen. But mentally, I wasn't really there. Even in my own personal relationship, I wasn't really there. I was always mentally inside that world. It was painful. Sometimes your blood pressures would drop if they would extract too much water. Your blood pressure
Yes.
would drop, and then oftentimes I fainted right after the dialysis procedure because my blood pressure was really low. And it was especially saddening to see the condition that was my parents were in during that time because SIUT is loaded with patients 24/7. So my dad would stand in the line uh, to get my session. Uh,
Hmm.
at 11 a.m. in the morning, he would go to the hospital to get a ticket for me. And then 12 or 13 hours later, he would take me from home to the hospital where I was going to have my dialysis. It was
Oh.
a long list of patients that used to do dialysis every day. It was tough. It was really time consuming. And he was completely mentally involved in my dialysis procedure as well as much as I was. So he used to go to his business. He used to take care of his things. But he wasn't mentally there either. Neither was my mom or my siblings, for that matter. So yeah, yeah, I had lost a lot during that time. My health, uh, my finances, my job, my relationships. Some of my friends, like like it really was a death sentence. But you know, my dad had this really. My dad, my dad told me this one thing during that phase that really changed everything from that point. So there is saying in the Quran uh, that remember you will not be tested beyond your capacity.
Hmm.
That one phrase was all it took to change my perspective on things. I got more motivated. I stood back up. Now, sorry to say this uh, uh, right now, but I did have some suicidal thoughts as well.
Oh.
Because I was so depressed even uh, as a normal person would be. Uh, there were two motivations that kept me running. It was my family and the place that I just told you about. And another third motivation that I won't really recommend to anyone going through this. And it's sad that I thought of it also, but it was a state of revenge. I was being vengeful, wanted to. Uh, a lot of people had left me in that time. A lot of people had despised me, felt sorry for me. So I was in a state of vengeance that I wanted to get back up, throw the symbol, and prove myself that I'm capable of
I can totally relate to you and your story because family is something which stays with you in your highs and lows, and I feel we should be forever indebted to them, especially when your mother came forward to give one of her organ to you, and then of course dialysis. The dialysis people, the technician, the staff, they become your family because in the end you're spending a lot of time there, 3 times a week or 2 times a week. So must be tough for you, but I want to just remind you that you are doing amazing and you are such a brave person that you could sail through that emotion, that journey of yours. And of course, your father's line is really motivating. So you're doing good so far because, this is not in our hands and this is a second life we all get. So we make most use of it, right? So you also have got this second life. So yeah, once again, just to remind you, you're doing so good. Moving further, that your mother gave organ to you. How was her emotion? Like you've already shared in brief that nothing. They were just so engrossed in your process, in your dialysis. But still, I want to ask that how was her ups and downs, and her tests were also going on. Her emotional turmoil must have impacted her a little, her daily routine a little. So how was it, how she handled pre and post?
uh, but when my diagnosis came forward, my family, all of them, had actually signed it. Even my
Wow.
aunts living in Canada
Wow.
called my dad. They're like, we're getting our tests done in Canada, just so we could sign up as donors. So everybody was coming forward. Uh, my mom obviously wanted her to be first in line, herself wanted to be first in line. Whereas I suppose that's how moms are. It's not something I can explain, that emotion. It's not something I can explain. Moms don't understand. My mom put herself forward, and I don't think she had second thoughts at any moment in time in the start. And even after a transplant, she was still smiling. Uh, I mean, it was a bit uncomfortable after transplant because, of incidents and
Pain, yeah.
she kind of but she was happy. She was actually very happy, to have played that role. Uh, maybe I talk about this later during my experience during the transplant process. is where I spent a lot of time with it. Uh, I'll talk about that once we come to that. But during the dialysis process, he was always very supportive. Uh, my entire household changed their diets. Yes, there's a diet you have to follow when you're on dialysis. If you don't follow
Yes.
that, your tests for your transplant are not exactly in line with what the doctors want, and they might delay your transplant. My entire family changed their diets to low sodium, low phosphorus, low
Wow.
potassium, just eat in line. So we'd all eat low sodium food, low phosphorus food. Low yeah. My mom was really supportive in that. Keeping healthy throughout all the tests, and even for example, uh, her glucose test
Mm.
you have a sugar tolerance test before the transplant. Those weren't exactly ideal, and she
Okay.
went up to the doctor. She started arguing with the entire transplant that you had told me that this was fine, but now the doctor is saying it's not. So just for her sake, they had those tests done again, and then they were fine. But after every test, she was the one that was facing the doctor. It's not correct. And
Wow.
just to be taken again.
Amazing.
She was a hero
Amazing.
throughout it.
Great. Yes. And you also shared a little about the SIUT hospital, which is partially charitable and partially government. How was your experience with it? As you also mentioned, it is Asia's largest kidney hospital. So throw some light on it about on both the aspects of how it is. How was your experience? And people usually hesitate on going to charitable hospitals and government hospitals for that matter. Yeah, share a little on that.
Uh, I honestly have mixed feelings about SIUT at this point. I mean, I'm extremely grateful for everything that they've done for me. But it's also an experience, some of it, which I'd like to forget. You have to understand that SIUT, where it stands, it is one of Asia's largest hospitals, but it's the only proper operating kidney hospital in Pakistan. There are private institutions where you can go, you can pay money, you can pay for your dialysis, but you will still not find that kind of expertise. Now, when it comes to this treatment, money does not equate experience. Even the staff, even the dialysis staff, the kidney technicians, they have their experience is at another level. Now, you won't find that experience at another private dialysis center. If something goes wrong with your pressures, they're going to raise their hands up. They don't know what to do. But that experience that they have is all it's completely worth it. That entire experience. Uh, so I had a few relatives that had kidney issues, and I would always refer them to SIUT, although it's a painful experience. Uh, these guys are handling uh, the load of the entire country. You have patients from not only from Karachi, but from all over Pakistan. You have patients from uh, the northern provinces. You have them from Punjab, from the rural
Okay.
villages, from
Oh,
uh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well, from Balochistan. A lot of the friends I made there, some of them were from Quetta, a couple
okay.
of them were from Afghanistan. Uh,
Okay.
there were patients from Iran as well, from Iraq, uh, and I made friends from all over the place.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, there was a lot of friends. But I'm telling you, the expertise that they displayed during the dialysis process was incredible. There
Wow.
was a lot of emotional support. A couple of the doctors there were actually, so I met a doctor there. Uh, he was one of my childhood friends from school.
Oh,
So you would run across people you knew. You would always meet someone that you knew because uh, kidney diseases are more common than we actually think they are, and
yes.
everybody would try to SIUT as the first place of diagnosis. Uh, in the start, you would panic. You would get worried when you see the environment that you were in because it uh, was kind of haphazard. Yeah, because you had people all over the place. You didn't have enough spaces in the wards. You didn't have proper uniforms all the time. But the standard operating procedures followed by the doctors, by the nurses, by the staff. Everybody knew their job from A to Z. Everybody knew where you had to go next, what you had to do next, what this test represents, what doesn't. And so everything was laid out in a very clear and straightforward manner. Another, the best thing actually was that no matter how rich you are, whether you're a chief executive of a company or you're at the very lower staff, nobody really cares. You're still a very normal, average patient. But
Hmm.
just you'll be treated the same way. And you can't take unfair advantage of the system. You can't pay your way off. You can't find loopholes. It's a very structured hospital. That was amazing because sometimes I would meet some of the doctors and when I would introduce myself, I tell them that, I'm working in finance and all of that. And they'd always tell me that, we have a lot of patients who were CFOs or chief executives of companies. And we noticed that a lot of them were actually accountants. So what is it with the accounting profession and finance and taking all this? So, they would
Sorry
say that,
to barge you in. I just
uh,
want to know that were there, we all have this vision of long lines, long queues in government hospitals, waiting hours, 12 hours one day. So was that the same there?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm,
Okay.
I'm telling you, for example, standard, so I have a fistula on this arm for my dialysis. It still
Okay.
works. Um, Now, you can get a fistula made if you pay about 70, 80,000 rupees in a private
In
hospital,
government, you have to
or
pay
you can get an
50
appointment
rupees.
the very next week.
In government hospital, you have to pay 50
Yeah,
rupees.
this was free.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
But you have to
Yeah,
wait for like
yeah.
for a week or so?
No, my appointment for getting a fistula was 1.5 months.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happened was first they were doing the dialysis from my thighs, from the vein near my thigh, and then once that got infected, so the life for that is about 10 days. Once that got infected, I had one in my neck right
Hmm.
here. This is where the dialysis was being done from. And eventually, I got a fistula, and then everything after that was streamlined. Yeah. So I had mixed feelings about the entire thing, but this was dialysis that I'm talking about. Transplant was a completely different thing. These guys had very strict protocols of how a transplant was done. Complete sanitization. You would isolate it from the rest of the world. You had your own wall. A whole completely different separate world altogether. Yeah.
Great. Good to know.
Utterly grateful for that. Still making regular donations from my salary nowadays.
Wow.
Well, just after my transplant.
Amazing.
Always grateful for them.
Good to
Still in
know
touch with
this.
some of the doctors, some of the nurses. Yeah, yeah.
This is something really good, that creating a good cause for other people as well. Amazing. Amazing. Nice. I've learned a lot from you. Moving further, you also touched upon a point of emotional support, and do share a little about mental resilience that you've already shared in brief, that you were having suicidal thoughts and suicidal, ideas. So, pre and post transplant, was there any change, or you felt the same, or uh, what is it exactly?
Uh, no, you might have taken that suicidal part a bit too far. It wasn't anything like that, but it's actually natural for someone in my state or
Yes, indeed,
anyone in
indeed,
my state to have,
indeed, it is.
uh, yeah, yeah. Uh, but it's, I realized that very maybe late in the process that it's all a mental game rather than a physical one. So physically, you can be tortured. You can have needles stuck up your arms for hours and hours at a time. But if you're mentally not there, uh, you would lose the battle very early on. Uh, dialysis was difficult mentally, and it was challenging. It was very challenging to get my head around it. Uh, but after transplant, all of those thoughts disappeared. I can. Uh, so, uh, you know how we met on that Facebook group, uh,
Hmm.
the one on Facebook where we
Yes.
actually met. A lot of the patients there expressed regrets about having the transplant, uh, the health being all over the place, having mental issues, having side effects of medicines. Now, I have had my share of side effects as well. One of them, an important one, being losing my hair all of a sudden. Uh, but nothing apart from that, having some level of anxiety as well. But I would take that any day before going back to dialysis.
Yes.
Dialysis was mentally, physically challenging. And life now is completely different. I'm happy with I'm in a good place. I mean, uh, I do live alone in the UK, in a small city. I'm in Belfast. Uh, Not a lot of Indians in Pakistan here. But I'm happy.
Hmm.
I'm doing everything myself. I have my own apartment. I'm cooking. Having a good time, working hard. I didn't have any of this 8 months ago. I've lost everything. So I built my life up from scratch. Uh, Mental resilience is something that's key to this. That's really important. Sticking to your routine every day. Now, after transplant, there was not really a chance that I would be able to recover in the time that I did. But I would wake up, eat the same things, eat my medicines in time, drink a lot of water, exercise, keep a distance from people, and that I think is what changed the game post transplant. I don't really like to dwell on my mental state uh, during dialysis because I don't really like to think about that honestly because that was a really weak point in my life, and I wish I would have done a better job mentally speaking. I would have
Hmm.
given myself some motivation at that point of time. But it was just too hard to stay motivated. Come home, sleep, wake up the other day, sleep, and was the entire process all. So yeah, I wish I would have done a better job. My let's say.
Uh, I'm just actually blank. I don't know what to say, but I have written a book because you were sharing about that, how blank our next day is when you're done on dialysis. So, for all the dialysis people, even I was on dialysis for 5 years because I did not have any donor in my family. So, just because I was always motivated, like your other friends, I was always happy. I was always, smiling, and everyone around me was always asking me, "Arey, how are you doing this?" So, because I felt I wanted to motivate people around there in the world, so I have written a book, "Easy Ways to Live with Kidney Disease." And if you want to share it with your other friends as well, please do share, because this is all about how we can encourage our life, how we can have a mission, how we can have a goal the other day when we are waking up and feel motivated all the time. And you are absolutely right to say that it is a mental game. It is indeed, it is a mental game. If you are mentally strong, our life and our body will react, physically to that. So, moving further, cutting short to my story, it is all about you. So you had a transplant in Pakistan and then you moved to UK, right? Uh, so how was your life unfolded? How's your life unfolded in UK? Also, did you manage to take all the appointments with doctor in Pakistan back there? How was it going? So do share these two aspects.
Uh, no, I actually have a different system now. In Pakistan, I had a nephrologist at the same hospital. Uh, uh, then again, there was a lot of load on that system, so I wasn't exactly aware of my treatment because the way the doctors would do things in Pakistan is because there was a lot of patients. You would get yourself tested, you would wait for a few hours, the doctors would call you in, and he would just tell you what you need to do now. He won't go into the details of what's happening, how is
Hmm.
your body changing. He will just
Okay.
tell you that, okay, this is the level of progress you take now, this is the level you're taking before, this is what you need to do now, and you may leave.
Hmm.
And that was the limit of the conversation that you would have with your nephrologist. This went on for about from February until June this year. Uh, and I would stick to my routine, because my medicines were being changed constantly.
Hmm.
So I'm sure you know that in the first year or so, your dose fluctuates, your creatinine level fluctuates all the time. My creatinine was normally around 1.4 to 1.6 in Pakistan, and my weight. So my weight is actually very interesting phenomenon as well. Uh, at the night of my transplant, I lost about 3 kilos. Again,
Hmm.
water weight. I'm guessing my weight dropped to 43. And when I was leaving Pakistan for the UK, I was at 46. And it's been about 3 months now, and I'm at 55. So I've gained about 10 kilos of weight in
I
three
agree to
months.
that.
Uh,
I'm in the
and
same line.
Yeah, yeah. Weight is actually, it's really surprising how much your weight fluctuates because I'm on steroids as well at
Yes.
the moment. Uh, uh, Although I'm eating healthy, I make all my meals myself. I don't eat out at all. I can cook all Indian food. And I eat a lot. Uh, The thing is, when you're living alone, you can let that food go to waste. So you end up eating everything. So, that's another reason. Uh, yeah, and so when I came to UK, my first worry was about getting that appointment with my nephrologist. Uh, it took about a month and a half to get registered with the general practitioner. And he referred me to a nephrologist. That took another couple of weeks. But once I was in the system, it was amazing. It was all streamlined. The doctor would send me a letter. I would just show up, give my test. There was no crowd or anything. You would be the only patient sitting there. The doctors would talk to you. He would tell you in detail about what's happening with your body, what you need to do. And if you have any questions. Uh, so it was all a streamlined process. At the first time, I'm sorry, you're not audible. Okay. Um, so this was actually the first time where I actually started to learn what was happening, uh, how my body's changing. If something's wrong, what's wrong? Why is it happening? Uh, I had all the results from my Pakistani team. They sent it across to the UK team. So the doctor looked at my charts and told me what to do next. I'm still on the same progress level that was recommended by my nephrologist in Pakistan. Uh, but the team here is thinking of getting me off steroids in the next couple of months. So there are some traces of virus in my system that they need to get rid of. So they might lower my dosage for the immune resistance going forward. So I'm really happy about how it's working out. They've, they've let me relax my diet a bit. They've told me that weight gain is good. So they're very positive in all those things. So I often go for uh, treks in the mountains, hikes. I go for long walks. I exercise as well. There's a small gym in my house. Um, so no, I'm really happy how it's moving forward. My creatinine is high now. I stand at 1.7, but it has been 1.7 for the past 3 months consistently. It doesn't really fluctuate. So that's a good sign, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a rather smooth transition. So I'm really thankful to my doctors in Pakistan for allowing me to go, and my doctors here for taking me on board. It was really a smooth transition. I couldn't be more thankful for that.
I was waiting for that word, thankful. So I didn't know that we can get rid of steroids. So I'm so happy to hear this.
You can get rid of steroids in Pakistan and India. I believe the reason is because they don't have alternatives uh, to steroids. If something goes wrong, and something usually does go wrong if you're off steroids. But these guys here have measures. I'm not sure what those are, but they told me that we start taking your tests more frequently once you're off steroids, just to keep a watch if you have any symptoms of rejection. So that's why they're able to do this. So if you're off steroids, you might have your tests taken every 2 weeks rather than a month, and uh, that for them is what's important.
Great, it's a great story. I just didn't want this entire podcast to get over, but I just want to discuss on last this question that you've already shared that you're into trekking, you're into gymming, you're into physical activity, and your creatinine is also stable from past 3 to 4 months. What apart from this you want to share? Any positive message or any encouragement or anything you want to share with all the viewers which keeps you going and which kept you going actually, and something which is really has really motivated you to do not give up easily on your life in your treatment and to take care of your health overall.
Uh, that's a good question. It's a difficult question to answer in a few lines, maybe. But there's something that I witnessed. Now, this might come off as a negative comment, but I don't want your viewers to take it as something I'm really serious about. Um, when I was being treated, I saw a lot of patients using their diagnosis, using their disease, using their condition as a crutch, as an excuse to, escape from the real world. I saw this during analysis. I saw this after transplanted patients, making excuses for not working, for not doing the best that they can, achieving the best that they can, given their circumstances, and, always telling me about, how I'm a patient and I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't want people to do that. Don't use your condition as a crutch to escape from the life. You've been given another chance. Make the best use of it because you're not going to get this again. You might have a good couple of solid years to make something of yourself and use it for that. Uh, I was my time, my motivation for getting out of bed every day after transplant was to somehow make myself fit enough, travel here, and restart my career. And remember how I told you that I was full of revenge at some point of time during dialysis. That was still there constantly. Even after transplant, I was still in that phase. I still am. I'm not gonna lie, I still am to some extent. I need to. I'm always of the thought that I need to prove people wrong. People who wronged me, for example, who left me during that time, I need to prove them wrong. And it's negative. It's not good. It's not good to be in that frame of mind. I try to escape that, but there is still some part of me that thinks like that and keeps me going. That you're stronger. You need to show these people. You need to show that you're better. Uh, you need to show them that what you're made of. Uh, so my motivation was negative in some extent, but it doesn't have to be full. So remember, it's all a mental game. You want to use your condition as a crutch. So that's the absolute worst thing you can do for yourself. Um, keep moving forward. I remember what I said earlier about you're only test. You want to test it beyond the capacity.
Yes.
So don't think that you're worse off than anybody else. You're not. Everybody's struggling to some extent in this condition. Everybody is. How you cope with your circumstances that really defines you. So try to make the best of it.
Zan, I remember you discussing with me that you had some personal challenges in your life. You know, from a personal life with your fiance. So, do you mind sharing a little about what exactly happened? And of course, you have mentioned in brief that you had a feeling of vengeance. I understand where that was coming from, but do you mind sharing a little about what happened exactly?
Uh, yeah, no problem at all. There were a lot of personal challenges, hard to narrow that down as well. Uh, everything was going smooth. We had everything planned out. Wedding. I just received the news of getting to the UK, getting back to the family as well. So you have to understand that when you're in a relationship, uh, that entire family is also your family. So when I talk about people leaving me, that was an entire family a set of people that I called my own family. That suddenly one day vanished. It was sad because nobody really called me from their side to ask me how I was doing or what state I was in. I mean, distant family members would always call me, come to me, but those people never actually did. So it was a sign of selfishness and greed beyond anything else. I don't know. I won't really blame her for most of it because she was being pressured by her family about that. Uh, what was really shocking at that point of time was they were all doctors. The entire family was a set of doctors. So yeah, and there was a serious lack of empathy from that aspect. Well, a kind of lack of empathy you would never expect because they were all doctors. Yeah, they all knew what was happening. And one fine day, I think our families had a conversation, our parents, I suppose, and we just called it off. And in a way, I was thankful. I was obviously sad, but I was also thankful that you don't really need people in your life that aren't going to stand by you uh, through what you go through. You deserve better than that. I imagine if something had happened later on and that person would have left you. that would have been worse. No, that would have been worse, much worse.
Yes.
So it's better if people like that exit your life early on rather than later. So, I was thankful for that, and I still am, uh, getting rid of all that load, that liability that I had set upon me. Uh, so, uh, that was the only negative part from that entire experience, the only kind of negative thoughts I had to struggle with. Once that load was lifted and those people had left, I was free in a way. I was free to focus on other things, to get myself back up. Now, maybe I was sad about that for the next week or so. But after that, I moved on. After that, I moved on. My family had moved on. We didn't really talk about it much, and that was the end of it. Uh, but there were other professional challenges were a big part of it. Apart from my personal challenges, this was it. With everybody else in my family, my friends, because they were really supportive. My personal challenges, besides me being demotivated, left out, feeling alone. Apart from that, everybody was there for me. But a set of personal challenges also arose where you would go to work, you weren't really there. You felt like, how are you going to support your family going forward? You're barely able to get up to yourself. So there was that as well. So yeah, a lot to tackle on that end, but I was able to take care of it. Not a problem now.
Our life really changes after the diagnosis. So somehow things happen for good, I believe. So I think you are much more
Yeah,
happier now. You already shared you are doing good in your professional life, and you're doing good health wise. So may God bless you with lots and lots of success and happiness in your life. Thank you so much.